Hey ladies, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, my name is Mitzi and I'm a paper girly. If you're a returner, welcome back. So today I want to talk about my Commonplace book. I want to share how I use it, why I use it, and how it really has benefited my life. And why I really believe that anyone, and specifically a woman over the age of 50, because I'm over 50, would really benefit by starting one. So of course, if you've been here before, then you know that I love notebooks. I love journals, I love it all. I have my Hobonichi cousin. I've had her for years now, and I am still getting enjoyment out of this. Using it a little bit differently, but still enjoying it. I have my weeks. I use her every single day. She is my gratitude journal. And of course, you know, because I love a notebook, when Sterling Ink came out with the new Common Core Planner, this girl had to get one. I love her. She is my personal diary. I don't share the insides of her, but she is beautiful. With the gilded edges, I just adore her. And then, oh girls, you know me, I get FOMO and I don't like missing out. So what did I do? Recently, what did I do? Well, I got the Spring Start Hobonichi Techo. And we'll talk about her at a later time, because today we are talking about my Commonplace book. She lives inside my Traveler's Company notebook. She's all snuggled in, nice and tight. I have my new little charm that I just got from TheCoffeeMonsterzCo. I love her. She is so cute. So the question today is, why do I believe that women, specifically women over the age of 50, and I say that because I'm over 50, would really benefit by having a Commonplace book? Well, I'll tell you why. Because gals, let me ask you a question. Has there ever been a time when you're, walking around, minding your own business, and you think about a quote in a book, or a lyric in a song, or, just have some fleeting thought that runs through your mind while you're, washing dishes, folding laundry, just doing the things that we do? And you think, oh, this is a great idea. That is a great song lyric. That is a great quote from a book. And then 3 days later, you're like, poof, it's gone. That's why. It happens to me all the time. It happens to me all the time because, well, honestly, it's just that my bandwidth of my brain is not what it was when I was in my 20s or in my 30s or even my 40s. Because as women of a certain age, we get this crazy thing called brain fog. And girls, it drives me bananas. It drives me bananas because I'm one of those people that I like being able to just, pluck up information that I've gotten into my head and then just pull it back up. And it's getting harder and harder every day. And that is why I am such a big fan of the Commonplace book. Because ladies, a Commonplace book, it isn't a diary. It isn't a diary. It's not a planner. It is something a little bit more intimate than that. It is a place to store thoughts. To store thoughts, or, you could store memories, but for me, it's mostly thoughts, things that I run across during my day that I want to note down so that I can come back to it. And remember those things. As a woman in my 50s, I've discovered that while I'm moving into this next season of my life, my mind might be full of wisdom, but it's also pretty crowded. So that's why I want to challenge you to think of a Commonplace book as a central hub for all of your creative thoughts, for all of your intellectual knowledge, for all of your wisdom. For centuries, people like Virginia Woolf or Marcus Aurelius have used a Commonplace book for knowledge. But for us at this age, women of a certain age, I actually believe that it's more about curation. It's about having a space for you to write down things that, well, frankly, that you just don't want to forget, and things that are important to you. It's a place to put down quotes that give you strength, affirmations, that are going to lift you up. Maybe it's just putting down a recipe that you want to remember, or possibly even hand down to a family member someday. It's all about just putting down in one spot anything and everything that brings you joy in one spot. So let's head over to my desk so I can show you how I use mine. So we're here at my desk, and before I get started showing you how I set it up, I just want to say just a couple more words. And first off is, well, you might be asking, Mitzi, why don't you just use your phone? Well, honestly, for me, there's something so powerful about the tactile experience of writing something down on a piece of paper, a beautiful notebook. Using a fountain pen on some good paper, maybe adding a cute sticker or a fun slice of washi tape, writing something out longhand, it slows us down. And girls, we deserve to slow down. We deserve to slow down and take a moment just delighting in the little joys, the little things. Because ladies, at 50 and beyond, we aren't just starting something. We are compounding our experiences. And this book becomes a legacy of how you think. It's a way to give yourself a little grace and a little peace by clearing out the mental clutter and putting it somewhere beautiful. So this is my Commonplace book. She lives inside of my Traveler's Company Traveler's Notebook cover. And you know me, I like a home for everything. So this is her home. So let me get her out. And I'm going to actually take her out all the way because I am using a Midori MD notebook. And I love Midori. I love the paper because I do write with a fountain pen. But another reason why I love a Midori notebook is because it lays flat. And for me, I like a notebook that lays flat. And girls, if you're a beginner, don't let this blank page intimidate you, because I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to walk you through with my no stress guide. First off, pick a notebook that you love. It doesn't have to be expensive, just something that feels good in your hands, because hopefully you'll be picking it up a lot. And then second's the everything rule. Don't worry about the categories yet. If that's overwhelming, don't worry about it. Just write everything down. And third, make it yours. Use the stickers. Use that washi tape. Or just plain black ink if that's what floats your boat. There are no rules in a Commonplace book. And really, gals, this is about making room to move forward by honoring what resonates with you right now. It's a quiet act of kindness to yourself. So I just finished up my first 3 months keeping a Commonplace book, and honestly, it's changed how I interact with the world. If you're over 50, then you know that planners are great, but sometimes they feel a little bit, transactional. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good planner, but lately for me, it's just become a list of to-dos. And honestly, girls, I'm looking for a lot more lists of to-don'ts in my life, if you know what I mean. And that's why I decided to start a Commonplace book back in January of this year. I was looking for a way to curate wisdom, capture fleeting moments, and honestly, just enjoy writing. Now, in month 1, I tried to make a deal with myself. I said, Mitzi, no perfectionism. A Commonplace book is a living document. It's not a museum piece. But guess what, ladies? I realized really quick that if I was going to have fun doing this, and yes, for me, it's all about the joy of doing it, and part of that joy is doing it the way that I want to do it, well, I was going to have to use all the stuff that makes me happy. So I started simply, a notebook, a pen, and a few bright colors. A few bright colors to make my key. But on page 1, I quickly realized that I needed to throw on the stickers, the washi tape, all the stuff that I use in my planners and my journals. Because like I said, there are no rules when it comes to making a Commonplace book. Sure, if you look up the lock method, it's all there. Rules, rules, rules. But I'm a lady of a certain age. No more rules for me. So the first thing I did was I created a Commonplace introduction page. It's just some random thoughts, some random information about how a Commonplace book is used. And then I made my key. I made my key with my Stampin' Square Ooly pins, some of my favorites, but they work really well because they just do these little boxes. And I made my categories. And then I just started writing. Quotes that moved me. Places that I went. I made notes about a book that I'm reading. I made notes on the Traveler's Company. And then I put down my favorite roasted chicken recipe. I mean, the New York Times roasted chicken, it's so easy. It shouldn't even be it shouldn't even be a recipe really, but I have it because it's my favorite, and I just think that everybody needs to know how to do a good roast chicken. So, it's just things that I love. All things I want to be able to look back at and remember someday. The goal is to capture ideas and moments on paper. Now, girls, by month two, I realized that I needed a little bit more structure. So I started to really make myself use the color-coded ink. I used the color-coded ink and the categories to make it useful for my life. And according to researchers, this helps categorize information and keeps it from becoming just a glorified junk journal. And girls, you know that I love a junk journal, but this isn't a junk journal. So let me go back here and show you what I did. Back here in my key. Now at first I just had the first 6 categories: affirmation and inspiration, adventure, grow, learn, love, and joy. And then I added on through the weeks. But then I thought, you know what? I really kind of want to make this, specialized to me, a woman over 50. How can I make this more intentional for this period of my life? And I thought, you know what? I think that I want to do some general categories, and then also some more specific categories to go in those general categories. Yeah, you know me, I'm an overthinker, but trust me, this worked out well. So the first category that I found most helpful for life over 50 is grow, meaning self-help notes, affirmations, reflections. And then the second one is learn, interesting facts, possibly a vocabulary word, or maybe just a recipe for something new. And then the third, and probably the most important for me, really, is joy. And joy can be quotes that make me laugh, quotes that make me feel inspired, anything that brings me joy. Now, I use these general categories, and then I add in subcategories that reflect a more specific topic. Like here, this is inspiration and grow, because it is all about growing with inspirational quotes. And sometimes I use 1 color key, sometimes I use 2 color keys, and honestly, ladies, you know me, sometimes I get that brain freeze and I forget to put anything down. And I'll probably just go back later and decide what I want to categorize it under. Because remember, no real rules here. You get to decide how you want to lay out your Commonplace book. And I discovered, well, girls, I discovered that my favorite thing is to just write down lists. Lists of podcasts that I listen to, podcasts that entertain my mind or feed my soul. Lists of books that intrigued me or taught me lessons or changed my perception about the world beyond my front porch. And then I have quotes that made a difference, right here on my YouTube. And then I thought, you know what, let's go crazy and write down all the women that are in my Paper Girly Facebook group. I mean, it's bananas. I've got pages and pages and pages of them all in my Facebook group. And I left a couple empty so I can keep adding on, because hopefully they'll just keep coming by. And then I have notes about a book that I'm finally taking the time to read. Girls, I love Pioneer Life. And my husband, I call him Mr. Paper. Mr. Paper got me the annotated version of Laura Ingalls Wilder's lost manuscript, Pioneer Girl. And I'm ever so slowly making my way through it, just soaking in the history of the woman who wrote my favorite childhood Little House books. And then entering month three, I realized just how truly powerful a practice this is for me in this chapter of my life, because it is fighting that brain fog. It acts as an external memory system, so to say. I don't have to remember every single thing that I read or I hear, because guess what, girls? I've written it down. I've written it down to review later, to bring it back up if I need it or I want it. And sometimes, honestly, I'll just write down notes. Notes like we did in high school. Because at the end of the day, this is about intentional living. It's helped slow me down and really just pay attention. Pay attention to the world around me instead of just scrolling past. It's about legacy. It's a record of what I found important. It's a collection of wisdom that I can pass down. So you might be asking yourself, well, Mitzi, it's a great idea, but where do you find things to write down? Well, for me, it's things like, I do quilting. So I just went online and I looked up quilt shops in Washington, because in the summertime, I will take road trips to different quilt shops. And I wrote down the ones in Washington. I put a little, mark at the ones that I've been to. And then these ones are all ones that eventually I hope to get to. Here's another list, a list of road trip ideas. Because like I just said, we do a lot of road trips in the summer. And so I just made road trip ideas, places here in Washington that you could easily do a weekend road trip to. I put, again, little marks by the places that I've been, and then I know which ones I'd like to go to, or maybe even go back to. I have more of the quilting stores. This was the day that I just looked up bagels. I love carbs. Besides being addicted to Diet Coke, which I have a little bit of a handle on, I'm also addicted to carbs, and I love them. And in particular, I love bagels. So I thought, you know what? Let me look up bagels and get all the information that I could on bagels. And so I have this one under, let's see, what do I have it under? Let me just double check, because I did do this for a reason. I have bagels. I have under learn, I have it under love, and I have it under food. I'm learning about bagels. I'm loving bagels, and it's a food. So this is all about bagels, the origin of bagels, symbolism and tradition about bagels, varieties of bagels, bagel toppings. I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to write about bagels today. And then, girls, when I don't have something to write about, I go to 3 books. I have 3 books that I use all the time. And let me show you what I got. So the first one I have is called Badass Affirmations, The Wit and Wisdom of Wild Women. And girls, this is just quotes and affirmations from badass women. And I go through it and I'll write them down. It is a quote or an affirmation, who it is. Remember Ann Landers, ladies? I do. And then basically what she was known for. So when I have nothing else to write, if I have one of those days where I don't want to think more, but I do want to write, I'll pick out this book. The second book I have, and this will not be a surprise to anybody who knows me, is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I am a huge fan of Marie Kondo, of the Spark Joy organizing method, and basically the spark joy in life in general. So this is another book that I go to, and I will just pick out something and pick out something to write about, read a little section, and it just inspires me. It just inspires me, and I'll write it down in my book. And the last one is The Happiness Recipe by Rebecca Morrison. Now, I had this book out in my video that I made, 3 months ago about the Commonplace Book. I am still slowly making my way through it, but goodness gracious, if you are like me and you have struggled with finding happiness, whether it's all your life or just at this particular time in your life, this book, I think, is powerful. It is powerful, it is uplifting, it makes you think. It does make you think, and honestly, it kind of makes you work too. But I'm not afraid of working because I want happiness in my life. So those are the 3 books that I use when I don't have something else that comes up just organically for me to write about. 3 months in, my Commonplace book is full of crinkly pages, full of stickers and washi tape, wonderful quotes, and information that sparks joy for me to write down. It feels like a true reflection of my inner life. And that's one of the reasons why I think that anyone, especially women over 50, would really benefit by having a Commonplace book. So if this type of thing interests you, then I hope that you will go out, find yourself a notebook, and get to writing. So if you've enjoyed spending this time here with me today, I would love to invite you to like and subscribe for more on living your best life in this next stage of life through the use of journals and stickers and paper crafts, all the things that help me live my life with creativity and intention. And if you're looking for a community of women of a certain age, then I invite you to come over and check out our Facebook page. It's a Facebook page full of incredible, creative, inspiring women just like you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, from one paper girly to another. Bye.